Yo, 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 welcome back to Hitaway Hurts. We are just gonna wait 30 seconds for some people to join and we'll get the episode going.
For sure, for sure. What is up, everyone? We are just getting this in now. Let's get this bread. How is everyone? IG fam, Facebook fam, Twitch fam, YouTube fam. Bro, we got everyone here.
Multimedia kind of things, in it?
Innit? Bro, when we first started streaming, I never thought we'd stream to more than 2 platforms. Here we are going at like 6, bro. Like, this shit's crazy, man. Like,
Shit
I don't
never
know how the fuck
stops.
we manage it. Literally. Alright, let's get this shit going.
As long as I got my water here, I'm good.
You're good, huh? That's it. That's what it's all about. Alright, let's get there.
So,
Alright, welcome back to another episode of Hit It Where It Hurts. If you're here, if you're in lockdown, if you're happy, whatever it is, type 1 in the chat so we know you're here. We want to say hi to everyone who's been supporting us. Hope you guys liked last night's episode. That was like a huge episode for us. We're still wrecked from that episode. Like, that shit was crazy, literally. So today we're talking about something really important, and I think it's something that, you know, starts in your personal life and moves on to your business life, right? Like, it's something that you have to develop and learn about, and then once you do it once, it's something that becomes a nature, it becomes a part of you, becomes part of who you are as a person, right? And that's setting boundaries, right? Knowing your expectations of people when they're dealing with you, whether in a personal circumstance or in a business circumstance. We think it's really important because if you're not setting boundaries about what you want from people, when they're treating you and when they're talking with you and when they're doing business with you, then really you're just gonna let people do whatever the fuck they want, right? And this goes for whether you're working a 9 to 5, whether you're running a business, whether you have one client, 100 clients. Boundaries need to be set.
exactly. And like, you gotta set it up. Like, if there's family, if there's friends, and then you got business, there's always
Uh-huh.
time to have each and like every single thing at its own time and its own pace. So you gotta like, you gotta balance it all out and just go
For
one
sure.
at a time.
For sure. And the thing is, like, the importance of setting boundaries means that, you know what you're capable of, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's say you've done free work for a client in the past, right? Like, you decided you want to give them a free product, and then they say like, oh, like, you did it last time, why can't you do it this time, right?
Mm.
It's like, yeah, but like, it's a boundary, right? That, that time you were in a better position, you were willing to do it. That doesn't mean that they should expect you to do it again. And to when you fall into the trap of giving in too much in anything, not just with business,
Yeah.
then you really have no boundaries, right? And then that's when you start to sacrifice a lot of your personal interests for the interest of others, and that's where you start to lose what you're meant to actually be doing, right?
Exactly.
When you're not able to set boundaries, then you're gonna start losing focus. You're gonna be start doing too much and too much than what you can handle, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously you're setting a boundary for a reason. It's either you can't do it, you don't feel comfortable with it, it's not in the best interest of yourself. The minute you put that interest of yourself aside, then you're basically working for someone else, right?
And
And it's fine to be working for others, but when you work for others and put their interest above yours, it becomes an issue.
yeah, and let me just say this: like, when you have clients and when you have people, like, say you have a store and then you got consumers coming in, you've gave them shit like for free one, two, three times. You gotta watch out who you're giving this free stuff to, because
For
there's
sure.
people that are gonna like step over you and they're gonna keep expecting free shit, like Mark said, and
100%.
that's what boundaries is all about. Like, setting boundaries at the right time, right place. Um, telling like making sure that they're not going to think, oh, just because, say for example, you know this person or their family or their friends or this that, they're going to
Yeah,
get your service or your products for free every single time, because that's the
for sure.
people that are meant to support you, not the ones that
the,
are
the the
mooching
ones that are
from you.
meant for you the most. That's right.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, right? Like we've spoken about entitlement and how you're entitled to nothing in this world, and this kind of goes a little bit against it because, as I said, there is like a happy medium in the middle, right? You have to
Yeah.
know what you're worth, and when you're speaking to a client and they're educating you on your own niche, that's where you start to set your boundaries, right? Like you
Mm.
give them a price and they say, oh, like, I understand the social media agency. I worked in it 50 years ago, and
Yeah.
I paid this, that. Well, they're coming into your space, right? They're paying for your expertise, And
Yeah.
for you to allow them to control that section and that, like, that like kind of area in the business is a problem, right?
Yeah.
Because not only do they not know what goes on behind the scenes, they don't know like how you actually operate as a business. They're thinking in the best interest of themselves, you're thinking in the best interest of the business, and the interest of the business has to be a very high priority, right? And that doesn't mean you don't go for consumer satisfaction all the time. It's one of the highest priorities as well, like to ensure that when you promise a customer something, you deliver it. But it's when they force a promise, right? It's when they tell you that you're meant to be doing this or you're meant to be doing this. Well, it's not really like that. You're the expert in that field. You know what you're meant to do, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there are times when there are scammers, there are fraudsters, like in any business, and they'll say like, this is what we're meant to do. This is the bare minimum, and then they charge like heaps for it. And we know heaps of businesses that have done that. Um,
You
but
just
the
you just
important,
gotta you just gotta
yeah,
set like those boundaries to an extent. You can't just be like saying something and then going off the other.
for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. And it's like it will hurt overall your business, right? And like
Yeah.
if you're always constantly stretching yourself, changing the way you operate things for other people, it's gonna be a problem, right? Like where if me and Mark made a decision on a business, and then this person had an opinion, and this person had an opinion, this person, and we had to consider all opinions, we'd never make a decision, right?
Yeah.
It's the same way when you're providing something for a client. That's the relationship that you guys have, right? You may be engaged with them, they may be have some input, but at the end of the day, it's your decision, and they have to understand that as a consumer, that you're the one operating the business, not them,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And it's a very important topic because the minute you start losing those boundaries
Mm.
is the minute you start to lose control in a relationship of a consumer and a buyer, right?
Yeah.
Once you lose the control in that relationship,
Mm.
then it starts to ventures into a point where it's like they know more about the niche than you, right? You're
Yeah.
undervaluing yourself. You're not understanding what you're actually providing, because for them to come to you, right, like this is the way I think about it, and I've played like esports like professionally, right? When you hire a coach, right, when you hire a coach, like there's like motivational coaches on IG, you are putting 100% trust in them that the services they provide will be motivating you, right?
Yeah.
When we hired a coach for playing games, like let's just say for AFL even, you're under the impression that they know more about the game than your players,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
It's the same thing when you hire someone for a business, right?
Yeah.
It's like you've hired them because you obviously lack in that area, or you want to make it more accessible, whatever. They have a feature of knowledge that you don't. If they fail to acknowledge that, then they may not be your ideal client, right? Setting that understanding will make you know which client you should actually be dealing with and which clients you shouldn't.
And it's also about respect. Like when you set boundaries, it's between like say you as a business owner and your client or like your consumers. It
Yeah,
kinds of like it invites like a respect type of thing. So they're gonna
for
like
sure.
they respect your time, respect what you're doing, and they're not gonna be
Exactly.
coming to you in time where they know you can't really be in that time of giving. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they're gonna
yeah,
be there to help you out and stuff like that. And um, I just wanted you to go back on what you were saying. I
yeah.
think you cut out a bit.
Me?
Yeah, about the esports and shit.
Oh right. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So like I used to play like professionally in esports. If you guys don't know what esports is, it's basically like AFL except it's online and it's for games, right? Video games. And when you hire a coach in esports, but when you hire a coach in anything, you're hiring them on the understanding that they have a better understanding of the game. They have a better understanding of that area.
yeah,
So that's the trust, right? And the problem is in a relationship between a consumer and a buyer, if the buyer starts to take control of that relationship and determines everything, price,
mm,
time, regulations, blah blah blah, then
that fucks
they
it up.
become there's no reason to hire
Mm.
you then,
Yeah,
right? There's no
exactly. Yeah,
reason to hire you. There has to be a reason to hire you. There has to be an area of knowledge that you're lacking, or that they're lacking, that you're fulfilling, right? Or else you're just another like casual worker, right?
yeah,
When someone hires, like for example at a fruit shop, if someone hires you to stack boxes of fruits,
mm.
right? They're not hiring you because they don't have that knowledge. They're hiring you because they can't fuck doing it themselves, right? But with like
Nah,
what?
what if they actually the work is, but
Yeah, but I'm saying like
yeah,
they're not hiring them for their expertise in something,
yeah, yeah, I
right?
know
They're
what you
just
mean. I know what
hiring
you
them
mean.
as a number.
Yeah,
Whereas if you're hiring like a social media manager, if you're hiring a football coach, a counselor, whatever, they are specialized in that field. They've been dealing with clients in that field consistently, right?
Yeah.
And so they have you have to have that trust of them that they know what they're doing.
Mm,
And then once you have that trust, then the relationship becomes a more fair deal, right?
mm.
Where you trust what they think is right, and then you're gonna pay them accordingly, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the biggest problem is, because if you don't have that trust, then what's the point? What's the point of hiring someone if you
Yeah.
can't trust what they're offering?
Yeah.
Then it's a bad relationship, and you should get out of it.
I was talking to a social media manager. I think it was yesterday or something, and she said she had a client, and that
Mm.
client was literally like what you said. Like that client was telling her like, I needed you to do this, manage
Yeah,
it this way. But then
yeah,
if you're already telling someone to do it this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, like a step by step kind of thing, you
mm.
should be doing it. Why are you hiring a social media manager? You
Exactly,
know what I mean?
exactly.
Like you
Yeah,
gotta have those boundaries. Like you're hiring someone to based on their expertise to make your Instagram or like your Facebook better, but then you're giving all this like retarded dumb like
yeah, yeah.
shit.
Like,
Like you know what I mean? Like you gotta have that boundary between them.
of course, the
Yeah,
consumer's opinion is important, and we're not saying like if you guys get your first clients and they ask you to do shit, you don't do it. It's not like that. But when they control everything, right? Like they're like you're like working for them at that point, right? Like they're calling you 9
yeah,
a.m. in the morning. Where's my post? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work like that, right? You have to set your boundaries. You have other clients, right? Time at the end of the day is the most important asset you have, right? And if you're already giving in a little bit to the customer, then you need to understand where the boundary stops. Where does it actually sit?
yeah,
Where does your respect as someone who studied in the niche and their respect as someone who hasn't studied the niche stand, right?
100%.
And even if they have, like, the reason they've come to you is because you're better in one feature that they are not, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not, and it can be accessibility and time, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you don't have to choose every client, right? You don't have to
mm,
go with every client. Some consumer relationship clients are very hard, right?
yeah,
And they're very detrimental for both parties, right? For both the buyer and the consumer. So it's not about choosing every single client, and it's not about making the most money. It's about choosing the clients that you think you'll be able to advance your skill set with,
yeah,
right? Advance as an industry leader in that field,
mm,
while also fulfilling their requirements, but them having a certain respect for you that you know what you're doing, right?
yeah.
Or else they shouldn't hire you.
Exactly, exactly. And like when it comes to boundaries, like it's not all about clients. It's not all about business.
Of course,
It's it. It's sometimes it's like personal and family kind of thing.
for
So
sure.
let's give him an example. Like when me and Mark were
Mm.
doing Shisha at your door, we had we were working from like 6 or like 5 to like 3 a.m.
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
had we had like the boys and like people like, hey
mm.
boys, like let's go clubbing. We got a booth today. We got an
Yeah,
apartment, this,
yeah,
that. But like we couldn't.
mm.
And sometimes let's be honest, like we got put down for not going to
Yeah.
events
We
like
copped
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we copped
yeah.
it, exactly. And
We got caught.
we
Yeah.
weren't the boys. We dogged
Mm.
the boys, is
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But
exactly.
you gotta know that when you're doing things like that, when you're running a business, you're working for yourself, you know in your mind that you have a long-term plan. And we were talking
That's right.
about this yesterday with Max.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
You have a vision that no one else can see.
Mm.
So don't allow other people to break that vision down.
For sure.
Because only you know what's happening and you know what's best for you. So you gotta know when to say no and
100%.
when to say yes. But yeah.
Yeah, like, and it all comes down, like I always speak about it, but like perspective and priority, right? If you have your priorities and your perspective in order, you're not gonna rush your decisions, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna do things that you don't feel comfortable with. So many people, like, it's a habit, like, from your personal life into your business life into your
100%.
relationships too, right? Like when you're not setting boundaries, you're basically setting yourself up for failure, because you're setting yourself up to live a life that's not accustomed to you but accustomed to someone else, right?
Mm.
At the end of the day, you have to live for yourself. And like it's hard, right? Like at the like fucking we spoke with what's it called,
Yeah.
with Max about it,
Oh yeah.
about like how like it's so hard to like balance everything, right? Like,
Mm.
and me and you, like, we balance business, uni. It's hard to keep up with friends sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
the ones that understand are the ones that understand our boundaries, right? That our
Mm.
time is our time. When we spend it, that's not indicative of not wanting to spend it with them, or indicative of, of this having more value. It's just it is our dream, right? That's our person, that's our purpose, that's our passion. And the
Yeah.
people that understand that are the people that you need to keep in your life more often,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because those are the people that understand boundary setting. And everyone needs a healthy boundary. There is no one who could live without healthy boundaries. And that's why we speak about it now, because people that start businesses, people that start personal lives, like they do so much shit for free, and it's good. You know, it's
Yeah.
really good to gain experience, really good to help out people. Like we give out free shout outs, we do lots of free stuff. But it gets to a point where you're doing so much free things that you're no longer enjoying yourself. You're no longer understanding what the actual purpose of your business is. At the end of the day, and
You
it,
got
it, it
bills
doesn't
to
have to be
pay.
your you got bills to pay, exactly. Your main priority, like on top, like just below consumer satisfaction, is money,
Mm.
right? You have to be making money, or else it's not a business. Unless you're doing a non for
Right.
profit, you have to be making something. And so when people expect different of you, that means they're undervaluing you. They're not putting trust in your work. Like
So,
no one sees the work that goes behind businesses, right?
mm.
Like people, and we have a later episode coming talking about pricing, so I don't want to go too much into it, but it's like people undervalue so much of
Yeah.
themselves, right? Like
Mm.
when we speak about, little, like, food boxes or clothing brands, these little brands,
Mm.
and they're charging a fair bit, right? Like rightfully so. People are like, why are you charging as much as Adidas, right? Like you're just a small time brand, but you don't think about the fact that the time is the asset, right?
Yeah.
The time can, if we were to convert it to money, they're actually giving you discounts, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
with not including the rent, not including the time you don't get to spend with your family, not including all that shit, it's actually pretty cheap, right? In the big scheme of things.
Mm.
And so I think people don't understand that part, and that's where the relationship breaks off, because you have one person who's a buyer who doesn't understand what the actual person they're buying off does, and you have the person who they're buying off, who's literally put their blood, sweat, and tears into everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's a common issue, right? Like I've bought from small business owners myself.
Mm.
I've thought it's priced, to be honest. Like I thought it's
Mm.
overpriced. They've screwed up the order as well. Like it's happened before. I don't want to name names, but like,
But
you know, it's
let's be
yeah,
honest. They always have better quality than this already like set up
true,
brands because
true.
they're putting extra money. Like a lot of like I know for a fact that a lot of these new come ups, as
Yeah.
much as they are priced, they are still
Mm.
in the negative balance because
Yeah,
they are
yeah.
putting like so much money into it, making it the perfect brand for you. And
That's
that's why
right.
like sometimes they're expensive because they don't have a like they don't have a warehouse in China that's costing their shirts
Yeah.
like $1.
Yeah, that's right.
They're paying crazy money for their like
They're
stuff, you
doing
know
their
what I
own
mean?
shit. That's right.
And
100%.
and I just wanted to take it back to like the clients and shit.
Yeah.
Um I saw a post a few days ago and it was a
Right.
carousel by one of the guys we follow. And he
Yeah.
said it was something to do with boundaries and it was like
Yeah.
if a client oversteps, what can you do? How do you
Mm.
say no?
Mm.
And and so by the way to everyone watching, a carousel is a 10 post slide.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
all the slides he had posted, kept scrolling. They all
Mm.
had no. Each slide had
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it's
So
no, yeah.
yeah, so his message was clear. Like if a
Mm.
client oversteps a contract that you've signed, that you've pitched to them, and they keep like stepping over you, like it's simple. And all you have to
Yeah,
do is just say no.
for sure.
You gotta know that they cannot cross that boundary and your time and just you person like just you like
Mm.
they can't do that, like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yes,
for
like
sure.
yes, they're paying you, but at the same
Mm.
time, with that they can't do what they're paying you to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
Yeah.
100%. And like we speak about the happy medium all the time, because there is one, right? Like
Mm.
people who have made it have been very mean in business, right? They've stepped on everyone on the way up.
Yeah.
They've fucked over as many people as they can. They've underpriced their workers, all that shit, right? And then you have the people who are really kind in business,
Yeah.
right? But even the people who are really kind in business know their worth. They know their value. They know the time they put in. You have to find that happy medium where, because people hear like, people hear things like um
Mm.
being kind and things like that, like, being nice in business, being generous with your consumers, that's all fine.
Yeah.
But when you push it beyond the point where it's no longer like fair on you, then you're basically like you're not really working for the consumer. You're basically under them, right?
Exactly. It's like you're a slave.
You're a slave at that
Yeah.
point, right? And it's something that is a repeated habit that needs to be done constantly, right? When a customer, when you first let a customer overstep your boundaries, right?
Yeah.
They're going to consistently do it.
Mm.
It's the exact same when people work in 9 to 5 jobs, right?
Yeah.
And they come speaking to me. Like, by the way, like I get so many messages of people trying to get out of their 9 to 5 job. Like, I really appreciate because like good examples and stuff. But like, they'll be working overtime for free, right? Simply because they don't want to put their boss under pressure. Like, we get it, right? Like, fair enough. You care about your boss or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're replaceable, right?
Yeah.
If you were to leave tomorrow, they're not going to send you no going away gift. They're going to replace you that day, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Because at the end of the day, it's like a machine. The corporate industry is like a machine. It may work different in smaller businesses because obviously everyone's a little bit closer with each other and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But with bigger businesses, corporate industries, you have to understand that your time is just as important as the hours that you're putting in, right?
100%.
That the hours that you're putting into their business, building their dream, is not as important as the time you have out, right? So finding that happy medium between being really nice but also being very fair is very important, because there are people who have failed because they've been too generous and they haven't set their boundaries, and then they start to lose their cash flow. They can't upgrade their business. Their customers feel like they take control, and whenever a customer takes control of your business, then you're screwed, because
100%.
you have someone who doesn't understand the context, hasn't run the business from the start, and has no idea of the long-term goals. So when you give up that knowledge to the other side, you're basically admitting that you don't understand it, right? That you agree with them because, you know what, we don't have the right vision, we don't have the right like mindset to be able to tell you what we should do,
Yeah.
right? And that's a massive problem, because not only are you undervaluing yourself, you're undervaluing yourself to the customer. The customer starts to feel like, you know, you don't know what you're doing, and that's like such a bad place to be in.
Because at the end of the day, you got to look at it this way. You've put in so many hours, so much time into grinding your ass off to be the best in the field that you're in, right? To like put in so many, like, to save up so much money, maybe if you started a business, to build a business from scratch. And you got to know that you're worth more. You got to learn to say no. And you can't, and honestly, that's it from
and that's it. And in terms of the carousel that you were talking about, it's like, what he said was, how do you tell a client no, right? And then you swipe through the photos and it's just no.
It's all no's, straight out.
Because you have to be straight up, right? You can't be, just as much as you're straight out with your pitch and your value proposition and what you can provide them, you have to be straight out when they ask for something like, you know, oh, can you do free posts for this one? Or can you work for free for this person because I know this person and blah, blah, blah. No. Like just straight up no. And when you get into that habit, you start to understand you're not being mean, you're being fair. And anyone who goes against that, right, they're undervaluing you as a person and in your niche, especially. Being undervalued in your niche is such an insult, because imagine how much hours you've put in behind the scenes that no one knows about, right?
Exactly. I just wanna leave everyone with a quote. Yeah. Learn to say no.
That's it.
Learn to say no, bro. That's honestly, like, you gotta keep it simple and short, and it's real shit.
It's true. It's true. Like, and because it is a hard thing to learn, and if you grow up not having done it, and then you go into your business world and you start not doing it, it propels over each other, right? You get into relationships, you don't have boundaries. You get into business, you get into personal, you don't have boundaries. And boundaries is what's guided my life the most, right? I think personally, I think being able to tell people what I expect in terms of like my life, what I get to do with my time and how much time I get to dedicate to them, has been really good, because the people who haven't stayed around, I know, don't see my vision. They don't understand it, right? Which is fine. Like, no hate, right? But at the same time, the people who have stayed around, those are the real ones, right? Those are the ones that are looking out for you. Those are the ones that want to see you push forward, because they're seeing the vision how you see it, maybe even further than what you see.
100%. Yeah.
And so long story short, let me tell you guys, support your friends. Support your friends.
That's it.
All right. So as we get to the end of the episode, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, bro. Should we get to the shout out?
So as you guys know, just while Mark's setting it up, every single
It's
night we are we're starting from today, obviously. Every single night we shout out one small business owner, locally in Melbourne. Today we have a special guest, or a special business owner. Sorry, they are a Graze Box delivering to Mill Park only currently. They are stationed in Mill Park, and their Instagram is dig.in.box. Do you have it up on the screen right now?
Yeah, it's on the screen right now.
They're a lovely family, honestly, guys. If you guys are looking for Grace Box, go to dig.in.box on Instagram. I've tasted their thing. I know, Mark, you haven't tasted it, but bro, it was bomb, right? We had a movie night. We ordered it. It was
Yeah.
crazy. It's actually really fresh as well. Like, I've ordered from some Grace Boxes where it looks like they pre-packed it from like 10 years ago. This one looks really fresh, right? And yeah, so if you're looking for a Graze Box during lockdown and you live in Mill Park, they're probably only delivering to Mill Park because of the lockdown. So
Yeah,
stay
delivering
tuned
to
if
Mill
you're
Park only.
yeah, stay tuned if you're outside of Mill Park. Maybe after lockdown, they'll be delivering outside of there. But dig.inbox. If you want your business shouted out, I've just put the link in the thing. Dig.in.box at IG. I just put it in all the links as well. Go check it out. And yeah, that's our shout out for the day.
Yeah, guys, make sure to go click that, put in your details, and maybe your business will be shouted out next.
For sure. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm just writing dig inbox on IG. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're live every single night at 8:30. We possibly may change the time to 9 or 10. We're just gonna kind of see where everyone is. Maybe put a poll on Instagram, so stay tuned on that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.